T on how to spot psychic imposters. And we're going to show you how to protect yourself from everything from entities to elves this week on LOL.
There are so many people that are disconnected from their internal guidance. My mission is to change that.
I don't just talk stuff and repeat stuff. I'm living this stuff.
I'm your Carol Master and Bad Vibe Blaster.
And you can thank me for covering your astro.
Leading out love. Leading out love. Leading out loud.
Welcome to LOL Leading Out Loud, where we aim to become your favorite spiritual shift show on earth. Joining me, our Motley mystical crew, representing the angels in heaven, angel communicator Devon Duerr, calling in the powers of the tarot cards and the ancient occult, tarot master Chris Reck, speaking for and to the dead, psychic medium Cruz, and giving voice to astrology and the planets, yours truly, psychic astrologer Christopher Witecki. We're so happy to be here today. We also have a great sponsor. We'll be talking about her. And we are live and streaming right now on all of our affiliate channels, if you don't know. If you are in the super chat, say hello. Tell us where you're coming from and what your astrology sign is. We love to hear your feedback. And on today's show, we're going to be talking about how to identify imposters, scammers, not only in the spiritual world, but in everyday life. It's really time that we raise our psychic radar. And we're going to share as a team how we work as mystics and how we use our own emotional discernment to know and separate an expert from a novice. That psychic ability was pretty high in demand, let me tell you, with the presidential debates. We'll be talking about that. But first, let's talk about the week's energy in our Psychic Surf Report. Hey, team.
What's going on?
Buddy. How's it going?
Feeling the energy. We're in the high seas of Cancer. This is what it must like to feel to be Devon. I hate it. High seas of Cancer. And it's a very powerful week, actually. We have 2 full moons in Capricorn this season. We already had one last week, a week ago. Now we have a new moon this Friday. And in essence, what my prediction is for this week is it's going to be emotionally turbulent, especially on 4th of July, which is going to be Emotional Independence Day. I feel like people are tired of being emotionally manipulated in relationships and situations. And it's been catching up and building up all year. So I feel like there will be some fireworks and some storms, more fireworks at the family picnic probably than at night. And I believe that we have following that, we have a new moon, which conjuncts Sirius, the star Sirius, on Friday. Now, this Sirius conjunction is rare when it comes on a full moon. And only a new moon, only conjoins on Sirius, the fixed star Sirius, every 19 years. So the last time we had a Sirius new moon was 2005. So I think this is the universe's way of winking at us and saying it's time to get serious with our feelings and feeling better in daily life. What are you all picking up on?
Well, the universe has been saying that for decades. Some people are just not getting it. But, Cancer season, I've been calling it, but it's primarily this week has been that, right? So you said relationships, I kind of laughed because many people are in situationships. So I think that we need to understand that, we're not really kind of getting what we need in our relationships. And I think that's been very evident, I would say, in this week primarily. And so even me, the Aquarian, has had some sensitivities this week. And so but they're really good sensitivities. And so I think you're going to feel a lot of that opposition and maybe even tests in that sense. It makes you wake up to, where do you truly feel emotionally? And so in order to have that freedom, as Christopher was saying about the independence, emotional independence day, we got to identify what the feelings are and what's out of whack. So Cancer, So Devon, I don't know how you do this Cancer energy. Explain to us your take on this emotional season.
Well, of course, I love Cancer season, my birthday month here. But yeah, it's been interesting. It's been a rocky start for myself and a lot of people around us. I picked up something energetically that just took me down last week. But, the angels are talking about, even though this is a holiday here in the US, it's actually a great energy for getting things done. And that can actually help you with this energy. It's kind of like putting everything back where it goes and clearing away the things that are no longer serving. They're saying that we're going to still feel this full Capricorn full moon energy for the rest of this week anyway. So why not use it to get rid of what's not serving you? There is a risk of a lot of us getting caught up in nostalgia and romanticizing the past and staying in situations because of that. So they just want you to trust that anything that is revealed to you really is in your highest interest. We can't let fear block us from continuing to go down the path that we want to go on. In fact, your personal power is really coming on July 5th, as Christopher said, our Serious Joy holiday, the new moon. Take time alone on this day. Listen very carefully to what your heart is trying to tell you. Make sure you're surrounding yourself with like-minded people, and then wait for the right time to act on things, which we get that message a lot. But for many of us, we may have to just hit the pause button on something. And so get stuff done now, but be ready to slow down and rethink things for that new moon. I have a fantastic pocket affirmation I'd like to invite you to put in the comment section below this video. I trust my intuition. ITMI, Scott. I trust my intuition.
Where's that banner?
It's not here.
You are powerful. And just so make sure to put that in the comments below this video and take that time in the new moon to tap into that. What about you, Chris?
Yeah, I think that everybody, I'll be the ice queen tonight, not Scott. But what I'll say is I think that everybody needs to go on the adventure of their vision, whatever your vision has been for many years. And that would be the Knight of Cups. And so I think it's like a good time for people to ignore to be icy maybe and ignore the emotional stuff, but tap into your emotions as far as like what you are dreaming of in your life and go on that adventure. I think it's a great time to ground your craziest, wildest dreams in reality. And I feel like that's what these two nights are talking about right there, plain and simple.
Interesting.
Yeah. Well, Neptune retrogrades tomorrow and Saturn retrogrades Saturday. And what that means in simple English is that God Universe has basically unveiled everything you need to know to clean up your karma. There's no other new further information, so there's going to be nothing jumping out of the closet except it's Scott's house, of course.
Skeletons, honey. Skeletons.
But and what that means is that we really have to start working out some of those emotional habits and stop some sort of emotional habit. I think by the end of the week, this new serious new moon is sort of like really flipping your attitude that you have about life on your emotions. And if you don't change your attitude, I feel that you will be stuck on the struggle bus. And you will find that, that things just keep repeating. It's a very, It's a very infectious time energetically. What you allow to persist is going to continue, or what you resist will persist, but what so it really is time to grow up emotionally and get over whatever might be holding you up.
Well, that's why it's going to be so important for us to look who we're surrounding ourselves with. If you go back to the same 4th of July party every year with the same people and you leave feeling low vibe, then there's something to question there for sure.
And if you're going to parties, there's something to question there too. Like anti-people is my thing. I don't like groups.
Not you, Scott.
Just kidding. It depends on the group.
Yeah.
Right.
And see, I'm saying this for a reason because a lot of us have been kind of isolating, kind of like, and turning our nose up at going out and being social. And that's an emotion to look at. And so like, what is preventing you from actually mingling and why are you isolating? And so, I have a tendency as an Aquarius to tend to want to isolate too, but that's only because I encumber myself with too much stress and too much, emotions of other people. So it's a good time for even us who are not so emotional to realize maybe we're detaching ourselves because we are inhibiting and inhabiting too much emotion of others. So it's a good time to make that reflection too. If you're not wanting to connect with people right now, look at that. Look at that and see, why are you isolating? Why are you being such an icy queen, as Chris said?
Yeah.
I literally wanted to pull a card on that. We have the Chariot. So, I think Cancer, setting yourself apart, he's, leaving that city behind him behind, even though my green screen is messing this up. But, so again, I totally agree with that. I think maybe we're in a time where we are kind of surrounding ourselves with new people or people who level us up, right?
Yeah. Totally
I also feel Cancer is family, and the sun is going to trine Saturn and then trine Neptune. So I feel like a lot of people on this family holiday here, who America is a step 13 Cancer, a moody Cancer, an Aquarius Cancer is what America is. So it's like Scott on a bad day.
On a good day.
That's our nation. But I have a sense that, a lot of family stuff may come to a boil because because we're at this point where we need to cut these karmic cords, or at least stop the dysfunction. And so you have to see it to stop it. So I do sense that you're going to see the whole nation splitting, and we'll talk about that, with the, even the debates, we talked about that. The nation's starting to split now into different camps. You can feel it now. And this week is when things really split.
Let me ask you something though about, Chiron going retrograde as well. What do you think, how do you think that ties into all of that? Because it is going retrograde later on in the month, right?
Right. It means, so interesting you bring that up, because it's at step 23, Aries. So what we're doing right now is we're healing our vision of the future. And so basically we used to believe that we couldn't have the future we wanted. And I think what Chiron is doing is saying, no, actually that was your wound that you were seeing. You actually can have the future that you want. So in this last 3 weeks of direct, it's the last moment that Chiron can kind of clean the bugs off the windshield and say, no, you can have the future that you want. Once Chiron retrogrades, I think the world will close in on people. And so at that point, you kind of chose the story you want to be on. So enjoy. You made your bed, so lie in it, as my mom would say.
I think there's been so much shit people been going through. They're like, oh my God, I can't believe this amount of shit would happen to me. And now it's becoming more rational to think about the things that they want, because they didn't think all that crap they'd be experiencing would happen, and it did. It's like, well, it doesn't seem unlikely that what I want can actually happen. So it's becoming more normalized, their future, like you're saying. That it's like, yeah, it is obtainable. It doesn't seem so irrational for me to manifest this future.
It doesn't. It seems, I think we're starting to dream again. And I do believe that, anyone watching this show, I think we're all off to make a new city. I just don't know if we're going to be paying attention to the other cities. I just don't know yet. I don't know if everything's going to dry up and heal. It's an interesting question mark. Especially
haven't you dried up already, Christopher?
I'm very dry. I'm very dry. And speaking of dry, so, any other things to point out that you are picking up on for this week? Just real quick advice for our viewers.
One thing I want to say too is a lot of this repressed emotional energy can actually come into physical pain, headaches, tension, and stuff like that. Let your body be a voice for you. Let your body be a messenger. If you're feeling so much tension in your neck and your shoulders, you're carrying too much, or you're letting people be paying your neck. So I said this actually on my live last week about let your physical signs that you're feeling be an emotion, also be a signal and a signifier of what's going on emotionally. So pay attention to those ailments, especially now, with the heaviness.
Yeah.
Well, I was just going to say that with this new moon, take that quiet time alone to really think things through carefully. Because like I said, things may be revealed, especially through social functions and doing the same nostalgic things you've always done. All of a sudden you're going, I can't take this anymore. I put up with this for the last 30 years and I'm over it. But think things through carefully before you just act like a firecracker and go off the handle about it and make decisions you can't undo and say things you can't unsay.
Right. It's like having the runs. You know what I mean? You just don't want to explode everywhere.
Back to the body humor.
It's been 13 minutes. That's it.
We have to just muddy the waters just a little bit, don't we?
Same thing.
Yeah.
No pun intended.
Did someone say muddy waters? I haven't heard them in a long time.
That's a new group.
God. I know. I love muddy waters. Well, excellent, guys. I look forward to it. We're going to talk about also kind of compound this conversation into the fact that it's the United States birthday, and the United States itself is going through a moment. So we'll be talking about that later.
Yes.
But first, we have a new cast member to announce today. The fifth wheel we've been always looking for. We've needed an announcer and a voiceover artist. So we got on the phone. We talked to his agent. We are able to get the God Almighty. Welcome, God Almighty. Who's our sponsor for today?
Tonight's sponsor is Psychic Organics. Psychic Organics, intensifying love and blessings into every product. When your skin drinks the healing elements of the plants, you can feel the love. Scott, what do you think of that? By the way, I've got to bounce. I'll hang up and listen. TIA, love all of you. Big fan of the show.
Oh, wow. Endorsed by God. All right.
Beautiful. Love it.
Hi, this is Scott Cruz, Psychic Media. I'm here to introduce you to Psychic Hair and Skincare, which only uses raw and organic ingredients. Shall we take a look? One of the products I use primarily is the peppermint shampoo, although I'm bald and shaved head. I love something that really nourishes my scalp. It really gives me that nice sensation of feeling clean after the shower. Whether you have hair or no hair, it's really great for the scalp. Another go-to for me is the Psychic cream. It's extremely light. It smells wonderful too, by the way. This is very thin on the skin, has a nice, very mild fragrance too, so it's not overbearing. It makes you feel nourished and moisturized. This is one of my go-to favorites. You could use it on the skin, you could use it on the face. One of the new products I discovered was the Psychic facial serum. It just requires a couple drops and also kind of takes away a lot of the dryness. It gives you that very fresh, rejuvenated look and feel. It's good to look a certain way, you want to feel a certain way. So let's take a look at the color of this too. Look at that orange glow, right? It's pure gold. Very light, very clean, very refreshing. I think this is the way to go.
Brilliant. Nice job. Oh,
It's working.
Holy
Wow,
crap.
it works well.
wow.
That's
They
amazing.
employed that before the commercial.
That peppermint has definitely been working on my hair, guys. It's been working on my scalp. Try it out, guys.
All
Amazing.
right.
That was
Especially
good.
the cheap pet.
Pure Organics,
Beautiful.
our first friend of the show, and
Yes.
we're all glowing on. So we all use CT products too. Our skin glows.
Thanks,
as a result.
Ichi.
Thank
I'm
you.
manifesting hair. I'm manifesting hair over here.
It's awesome.
Beautiful. All right. Well, welcome back. That was a great intro from God. Love to have his time. We'll hear
That's
more
what
from him in the
I do.
future.
Mhm.
Moving on to our second act, we are in the line of spiritual work. And, one of the things that happens early on when you're sort of coming into your abilities, you learn sort of how to understand, to tell the difference between the real deal and people who are novice or amateurs. And there are scam artists out there, unfortunately. I'll tell a story myself later on, but there are people who do prey on the weak and prey on the ignorant. And it seems many of them are in Nigeria. I don't know why. I'm not sure why that is, but my profile's been cloned by Nigerians over and over again, pretending to be me. So we want to dive into how it is that we as a team can spot frauds. We want to help you develop your psychic intuition, and we want to sort of share some stories about how we in tune to this, because it's time we all become psychic intuitive. It's time we all trust our psychic intuition. And given what we know is coming around the corner for the world, a major test of human history, everyone needs to have their senses about them. So who wants to jump in on the conversation here with some practical advice? I kind of feel like, Jim Morrison.
Because, I actually have real hair. I'm not a fraud anymore. This is not a fraud, guys. This is real hair. So, I don't know about imposters and frauds. So I always say, we live in a day and age where everything is online. Like all your information is online. And I usually encourage my clients too. If you're going to book a session with an online psychic as myself, ScottCruzPM.com, you want to make sure you put your profile as a private. Like it's an important thing too. And so, I actually had a reading a couple weeks ago or a week ago, and this person knew the names of my grandparents that I wasn't really connected with, but everything else was so wrong and everything was kind of off. There's a couple of things that were on. I realized, how do they know, the names of my actual grandparents, but everything else wasn't so on the money, right? So you want to pay attention to when you're getting a reading done to understanding the information that's coming through. Is it things that you can't look up or can look up? Are there things significant to you emotionally? These are important signs to look for in a reading. And I always say another way to spot an imposter is when they actually... Is that what's that sign?
Those are like
little British shoulders.
Royal soldiers, yeah.
Royal soldier, I like that. So, and I'm kind of liking this hair. Another thing too is when a lot of people get this, and I have a lot of clients who come to this very distraught because they were told there was a curse put on them, right? Because their family has a curse, they have to spend like thousands of dollars, right, since to remove this curse. That's another sign that you're dealing with an imposter or a scam. And there are actually people who really are psychic and will read you to pick out something that is true to develop some sort of negativity to get more money from you. So it's really important to understand: is it rational what you're charging me? And so make sure you're not being a victim to that type of or being prey to that type of those psychic vampires, we call it, or vultures in a sense. I was waiting for that zoom out because I was getting tired of talking. But those are big clues. But I always say online, understand, don't put everything online either. I tell people if you can book a session, like use an alias too, the way that people cannot look up your information, because you want to make sure you're getting a true psychic. And I always say real psychics are invested in their craft. Yeah. And when you're in a session, you can tell they want to guide you. You can tell they have information on how to guide you. If they're just reciting information, that's not enough. They should want to guide you too and give you insight of what you can do after the session. That shows they truly are care and being genuine.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think, Chris? What can you say, especially with tarot, Chris? I'm sure there's a lot of frauds in tarot too, right?
My thing about it is like fear, so I think that a lot of the fakers, they, kind of focus on fearful readings. They kind of take away the power and they give you no power as well. So, I consider myself a solutions-based reader. I provide solutions for every single card in a reading. And that's really what I like to, focus on. And that's what I would be concerned about as far as, scammers are concerned. Like kind of Scott said, they'll say you're cursed, or they'll just focus on the fear side of things and they won't provide any solutions. Like, as far as I'm concerned, everybody I read for is like a little bird. It's like, eventually I want you to go away and fly out of the nest and be able to take care of yourself. I think that, tarot becomes a crutch. So, eventually I hope people stop watching me. Right. So that's kind of like the way that I see it.
But how many people too, Chris, like you see a lot of people like doing tarot, like online, they're not really describing the cards correctly. They're just kind of like phoning it in. Cause I think cards can be an excuse for people to phone in too. Right. You see a lot of people not really reading right.
Yeah, I think that there's like, you can definitely tell when someone's making up a story to fit. There's like reading intuitively, and then there's completely just making a story fit. So and that can be hard to determine as well, because you could say, readings that repeat if they're always telling the same story. But a lot of my readings repeat, but it's just because really your life doesn't change that much from month to month.
Exactly.
So again, I think it's like intention. It's in between. What is their intention for the reading?
Yeah. Devon, what do you experience?
Well, for me, like I have 4 main things that are just really put me on alert with whether it's a psychic fraud or even just real fraud, which is a real thing, by the way, you guys. Like it's happened to a close loved one of mine, where people are really getting good at these online frauds, these phone tactics. But the first thing is I ask myself when somebody's coming at me with information is, did I ask? I mean, I'm a big believer in ethics and boundaries. And did I ask this person to scan my energy to give me this message? I mean, we do have connections with people. I have like a lot of people here on this team right here at LOL and at Serious Joy where we have an agreement. Yeah, if you get a message on me, please send it away. But for the most part, it's like, did I ask? No? Okay, that's already a red flag. The second thing was check in with your body. Like you said, Chris, Reck, any kind of fear tactics, if you're feeling your tummy flip, or you're feeling your shoulders bunch, I mean, that is not the guidance that is going to help you anyways. If you're in fear and defense, how are you even going to hear the guidance?
Right.
Pressure tactics are really big. You better buy this reading now, or you need to decide now. Send me this Bitcoin and I'll give you the answer to when your soulmate's coming. I mean, this all sounds obvious, but the reason I was really passionate about bringing this up tonight is because we got to talk to our parents about this. We got to talk to our children about this, because as you said, Scott, so much is online. And I just listened to a recent Megyn Kelly podcast where her whole family got pulled into a scam because they knew just enough information to hit all the fear, and they hit all the manipulation tactics to get everybody running to save this family member. And so that's the key thing there too, is where are they rushing you to do something? So I've definitely seen this with clients. I used to do small business consulting, and I sat down with one client one day. She had thousands of dollars to 1-800-Psychics, and she was completely in the red with her business.
Wow.
And, I said, at some point, she should have been guided to be putting that money in the bank, to be paying her taxes, right? But she was probably going for a different person every time to get the answer she wanted. And these people were taking advantage of that, So that's my main thing there, is talk to the people around you. Because I know the people listening here, they've got great intuition, but
real psychics don't solicit either. Real psychics don't solicit. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. I will not contact you to see if you want a reading. Nobody here will. And that's again, that first question, did I ask? What about you, Christopher?
I just want to add to that before Crystal chimes in, that real psychics don't solicit, and what we do is we make ourselves available. Like, for example, we're on shows, we do our own pages. That's how we make ourselves available for spirit to guide, clients to us. So if you're being solicited, that's another scam and fraud. Christopher?
That's a big sign. And I personally don't like it when, no offense, when a viewer walks up to me and like, I've been picking up a message for you. Cool. Like, honestly, unless I've asked you to read for me, there's an integrity issue there.
Exactly.
As far as, because who knows? And quite often there are dark spirits that whisper in things. Okay. I have felt in a reading, a darker intention come in
Mm-hmm.
for the client. And I felt that dark intention. I'm like, Jesus, you're not allowed in here. And we'll talk about that a little bit as well. I remember when I was 19 years old, I had a friend, we walked into one of those like psychic neon palm, shops. And we were like, we're all going to buy a reading or whatever. And she was like, yes, I can lead you. And it was very classic cliche. And my buddy's like, do you take checks? She's like, we don't take checks. He's like, well, if you can't tell if it's going to actually clear, we'll take your check. So she suddenly had the psychic ability to see he had the funds. So it's like, you have to, I think energetically you can feel something is wrong and you feel like a nervousness. So it's like, you will feel, your guides will tell you in your stomach, something's not right. You will get a weird feeling in your stomach. You can feel when there's another agenda behind it. You can feel when there's another agenda, right? Like a hidden agenda. And that's always something I suspect and I kind of poke at a little bit. And I feel that some people too are just bad at it. And they actually go in and out of I'll feel like I'll have to like kind of dig. It's like, okay, that was right. That was your imagination. That was right. That was your imagination. You have to sort of kind of pick through it, and even some of the best psychics or whatever, I think one of the things you learn as a psychic is, you learn what you can trust inside yourself. And in a reading, if it's a little gray, I don't know if I'll put it on the griddle. I'll wait to see some other affirmation or whatever. So I think there's a sophistication to a good reader that is sorting through the information coming through. And there are negative spirits that want to, I mean, I don't know if you want to share the story, Scott, but we were grossly intruded upon in a staff meeting last Monday by some energy that was being, I mean, you tell the story.
I'll tell the story. Actually, that's very true. There was, cause actually after reading that I had actually, and I felt a really kind of a negative energy come toward me after that reading that I had, and I don't usually get readings at all. And so, we were in a staff meeting and I just felt this headache, this pressure. We're in a meeting. I was like completely detached. I was hearing like voices, to leave, that you're not important here. Like no one just like stuff I don't feel. And I had to use my discernment, because discernment is an important thing we all have to do when it comes to anything. And so I was saying to myself, this feels like another energy coming at me. And so I had to separate myself and say, is this my insecurities popping up? Like, no. I'm like, do I feel this? I believe anyone feels this way about me? I'm like, no. And so I realized there was another entity. So I had to cleanse myself from that. So and I believe I got some sort of energy. Not that I think the reader is intentionally kind of giving negative energy, but I feel like if a psychic is not completely pure and cleansed and aware of their channel, things can pop through. And so you guys have to be very, very clear about that. And of course, when I always say, we psychics, we're not salesmen. When people say, when should I book a next session? I'm like, I don't sell you. I use your discernment to when you feel like you need to book it again. And so I realized like that was an opportunity where I've allowed someone else to open channel for me, and something slid through, and I had to be very careful about that. And so after a reading, you should feel empowered, light, clear. Everything makes sense. And that is my goal with my sessions. I'm always cross-checking myself, even in sessions, to make sure there's no confusion or clarity. And if you walk away with confusion or clarity, pay attention to your end results, because that's telling you what you just experienced. And I would say, like we've all said collectively today, how you feel afterwards, in your stomach, your discernment will tell you clearly. And if it feels good, it's on the right track. If it feels bad, it's on the wrong track. And if somebody, and then I want to say this too, I don't want to be too long-winded, but a lot of times, I know, right, Chris?
Where's God now?
Yeah. If a psychic has the ability to tell you there's some sort of dark demon attached to you, they should tell you how to get rid of it in the same fucking sentence. Right. Because if they don't, they're scamming you. Because anytime I'm in a session, I say there's a dark energy around you. We need to do this. Here's the reason why. Here's the solution. They better be cleared by the end of my session. Otherwise, they're scamming you.
Oh yeah. And if they're talking you up, they're upselling you, then that's just, get out of there.
But they should give you a solution. They should give you a solution in the session. If they're reading you, not pay for the solution. They should guide you out of that, not just all of a sudden bring something up and here, buy this. So.
Yeah. And really that energy, like you say, Chris, Reck, like I don't want my clients to feel like they need me to make a decision, to use their intuition. Like we're always about empowering, and eventually they realize they can do it on their own is the goal there. So that's another cycle, is if they're like, okay, I'll do this many readings for you in this amount of time. It's like you're kind of already trying to create a crutch there if you're doing that with your clients. So,
and there's a fine line. There's a fine line, because sometimes they need stability, right? But yeah.
Yeah, it can be. It's
Yeah, and what
interesting.
about like I don't know about you guys personally, but I've had clients test me. Do you guys have any stories about
I love
clients
them.
wanting to test you on your psychic abilities?
Chris, you go.
Yeah,
Sure.
I'll go. Yeah, one time, so I had a person who contacted me for a reading, and I felt weird about it. Like right away, something didn't seem right, and so then I refused to read for the person. So I just refunded them. I didn't really say that I refused. I said, "Oh, I don't really have time." And then that person came back to me and basically told me they were testing me. So I would never read for a person who's testing me anyway. It's like you're already coming to the reading with the wrong intention. But that was like one of those things that proved it to me that I should have trusted my gut. So I'm glad I did.
I find the skeptics that trusted testing is a way for an opportunity to get them to be a believer. So I had one that was calling in, and when they called in, I'm like, they're going to test me. I just know this. And so I tuned in and I said, I said a couple things. They were just like quiet, not like saying much. And I said, I know you're testing me. And they go, how do you know? I said, I know.
Right.
I
That's
know.
funny.
I said, are you ready? And I'm like, did your father-in-law just pass? She goes, how'd you know? I said, I'm a psychic medium, right? And so I said, his name is I think it was John or something. I don't remember the name. And I said, he wears funky hats too. And didn't you guys just try on his hat recently today, looking in the mirror? She goes, oh my, she started crying. I said, that wasn't that hard. That was an easy test. I said to her. So, sometimes, spirit wants you to push through and, be tested. And I'm open to that after doing it for so long. I'm just like, it's child's play, but there's people that want to test you because they want to be right all the time. And those I don't have time for.
Yeah.
I find, first of all, I'm not in the business of proof. So I tell people, if you don't believe, don't get in line. There's people who believe. I don't have time. Like you have to learn that on your own and believe that on your own. I've always found like, I will say this, that when I find out that the client's a Capricorn, I'm like, fuck. because they're going to they're not going to give me any feedback the whole reading. They're just going to be poker face. And then they'll be like, that was amazing at the very end. I'm like, Jesus Christ, throw some roses. My God. So those kind of bug me. But now I'm just I also had one person one time someone came back and said they want a refund because the reading was wrong. And I was like, what? I've never been completely wrong, and at that time I was like, no, you paid for the time. That's it. I'm sorry if you don't agree with the answer. I stand by my craft. We'll talk about it in heaven. That's my standard. Like, I'll never work with you again. We'll talk about it in heaven, and we can review the tapes and we'll see who was right. You know what I mean? Like moving on. So sometimes you have to have healthy boundaries, but I think that, the key, and this is the key to lie detection is paying attention to your own emotional field while they're talking to you. So you keep your eye on your own emotional field. You watch yourself. You don't listen to them as much as you listen to yourself listening to them. And you are sort of the microphone, and you can feel an inauthentic wave hit you. You can feel an inauthentic wave. You can feel something is off. The problem with manipulators is they tell half truths. It's very, I had a very dark father who was very manipulative and psychically manipulative and like put thoughts in my mind, like really dark shit. But I learned really good subtlety of manipulation. And most master manipulators will tell you something that is mostly true with a small false something included in it. Okay.
Right.
And so this is where you get confused, because part of you saying, yep, part of this is true, but something in it is not. And that's really where you're splitting hairs and pulling out the manipulation. Half truths is how most people do it.
Yeah.
True.
That brings up one more thing I wanted to mention too, that goes for both this kind of work, but also any fraud that's out there, anybody coming after you, is watch out for that isolation factor. If they're trying to get you alone, if they're trying to tell you you can't tell anybody what's happening, you're special, you have this gift, you need to cut these people out of your life. If someone is trying to isolate you, that is a huge red flag as well. Like I said, even with like the online scams we see where people are calling you up, pretending, calling the grandma, pretending to be the granddaughter. Don't tell mom, I need money, blah, blah. I've seen so many things like that, but it's the same with this type of work too, where they're telling you, you've got to cut your spouse and your family out of your life because you're a powerful intuitive and you need to get away. That is a red flag. Nobody who's really trying to support you wants you all on your own out there doing that.
Yeah, but there's a fine line too. Again, if they're trying to separate for people, yeah, sometimes people are in the wrong relationships and they need to get out of that.
Oh,
So,
well, yeah, absolutely. But I mean, I don't think
common
any
sense. If there's no
ethical
problems in your relationships and they're telling you that, yeah, then that's a big red flag.
right.
For
They're
sure.
not gonna just say like cut everybody out of your life. I mean, they'll say find someone that you can go to that's trustworthy to remove yourself from this situation. Because I do see that stuff on TikTok sometimes that, where they're really just really dramatic about the way that they're offering the advice. And, it's just, it's just not that black and white, like you said.
Right. Well, Christopher said he had someone. He had once asked a refund. I probably had like not many, few in the past 12 years, right? Because I kind of know how to prepare for those things. But I had one person, I gave a refund because I knew she didn't like the predictions, but I'm like, she'll come back. And I think it was like 8 months later, she sent me a PayPal for the session, goes, everything came to pass. She's like, I had to give you money. I felt bad. I'm like, I appreciate that, but sometimes I think when you trust your ability, and like I always have, I just trust spirit. People will understand that. Spirit will open their eyes, And so I think that those who get sessions, you might feel like that doesn't make sense. But if you like allow yourself to resonate with things and spirit's talking to you, you'll start seeing things will come into your play really soon, because when spirit's working, things happen for you after the session too.
Plus I get affirmations. Like I'll hear it in another reading. It'll come up in another thing. I'll get get a fortune cookie that tells me to, and I'm like, all right.
That's a good point. You get affirmations from multiple sources when it's really truth, and the person who's working with you is happy for you to get those affirmations, not just be the only one getting credit.
Right. That's good. That's a good point, Christopher. Synchronicity. Yeah. Because if you have a good session, you'll see synchronicity after your session too.
So true.
Totally will. And you'll hear it affirmed. All right. Excellent session. I have to bring back our new voiceover artist, the Almighty God. Almighty God, who is our second promo for tonight? God?
God?
God.
You banning us?
Oh, he's sneaking in.
Oh.
That was beautiful.
All right, this is a visual failure. Chris Reck.
Totally died. Oh no, and Devon's dead too.
Oh. Devon, your mic's out.
She's gone.
Oh, I think God tripped over the wires.
Oh, is that what happened?
I believe our second sponsor is Chris Reck, Mr. Reck.
It's me. I have something free for everybody, so you don't even have to pay for it. That's the best part. The other day, I did a call all about building a knowledge base, which I always say is the most profitable skill I've ever learned in my entire life. And you can get it for free at dentmakersutl.com. Now, all you have to do is go there. You don't have to register or anything like that. It's just the top video on the page when you go to that page. It's seriously, probably the best call I've ever done. So that's why I put it up there. And I actually wasn't planning on doing this tonight, but here we are. So you can go watch it there. There were so many golden nuggets and gems in that video. I'm actually going to split it up and do separate videos about some of the topics that we covered. But there were amazing questions. It was an amazing session. There's actually 3 other sessions as well on that page that you can watch for free. So there you go.
Yeah. Chris is a powerhouse when it comes to those things.
Yeah, just crank it out.
Yeah, he is. Yeah. We need like a dent maker jingle.
We do need one.
Today, go to Dentmaker UTL.
That's it. Yeah.
.com.
That's perfect. I'm gonna go clip that. And that's the Dentmaker song. We'll have it at the beginning.
.com. Okay, brilliant. All right. Thank you, everyone. Check out both of our sponsors tonight. And now we're going to move on to our next topic. And I can't remember who's supposed to open this up. Is it me?
Yeah, it says a host TBD.
Okay, thank you. Diane's like, you.
We need God.
It's you.
God should open.
I don't know. Okay, the biggest shift show on earth was that debate last week, was it not, y'all? Like, I thought we were a huge shift show. Oh my goddess. It was fascinating, the energy, and we want to just talk about it as mystics and kind of give you our psychic mystical impressions. But there was it was very interesting in the sense that, I was joking that there's a lot of body language. So because they turned the mics off, you're suddenly reading a lot of, like, everyone was sort of pantomime, right? Like Biden would be like, kind of looking off at Trump, and Trump would be like, what the? So there was that interesting part. I thought that was fascinating. It felt like CNN was trying to build back credibility, which I thought was interesting.
I thought so too.
Yeah, me too.
It felt like they were trying to claw back some credibility after the last election. Then there's the whole RFK thing, where Bobby F. Kennedy Jr., who apparently has enough ballots he apparently claims he qualifies to be on the CNN stage. He was excluded, which I thought was really interesting. But he went ahead and had his own broadcast. I don't know if y'all saw it. Did you see it? Where they would pause the two presidential, and then he would answer as if he was on stage. Also,
I saw that. Yeah.
Which I thought was really.
You sent it to me.
I was proud, actually, just that he wasn't allowing himself to be excluded. Like, I mean, I've had dreams of running at times. Like, so are you telling me that we're not going to be able to run if we want to? Now, I would never, of course, but never say never. But my point is like it was it was interesting just to kind of see we have Pluto going back into Capricorn. So to me, you were really seeing some last minute, fights for power, as far as and convincing. So that said, I want our roundtable team here on what you were picking up, and I'll add some more thoughts here. What were your takeaways? Let's start with Mr. Reck.
Yeah, I thought, what really stood out to me, and I'm not political. I don't think we need lizards, ruling over us. And, I've got 50 upstairs, so at least. So what I would say is the one weird thing that I don't know if it struck anyone else, but it's almost like the CNN guys there, or the guy and the lady, whatever, they were almost like interrupting Biden, like when he was giving his responses and cutting him off. And it was like the thing, that's what really stood out to me about the whole thing, the whole time. I was like, wow, they're really trying. It's almost like they're already trying to get rid of him.
And I feel like Trump was getting so much more time too. I'm like, they're giving Trump all this time to go on. It was like, it seemed like it was perfectly timed. Yeah, I noticed that too.
It was super weird to me.
Yeah. For me, I would say I noticed the aftermath of people saying, "What happened? How did we get here?" It's like, dude, like, y'all been focusing on these two choices. Like, there's other parties like Independent Party, Green Party, Libertarian Party. We didn't have to only choose these two mainstream choices. Like, we have other choices for ourselves. So we put us here, and we can start looking around and giving other parties attention and I would say and see who else is credible in that sense. But if we weren't spoon fed all the time, we perhaps would see there's other candidates and they would probably get more attention. So for me, it was not so much I anticipated that this would be what it was, the debates in that sense. Like I knew it was going to turn out that way. It was more the aftermath of people like saying, still after 8 years, how did we get here? It's like, I mean, come on, like you spoon fed these two choices, like look at other parties. And I personally think that the two party, paradigm is getting people in a ruckus. So they just don't know it yet. I think we need more. We need better than just a two party system. What do you think, Devon? What are you feeling?
Well, I mean, of course, I'm always going to take that 30,000 foot perspective that the angels are showing me and look at all the sides and look at what everybody's got, what skin they have in the game. What are they after? What are their motives? And, honestly, it was a very challenging thing to watch because it was like you were saying, Christopher, almost like dramatic pauses, like a really bad soap opera in a lot of ways. And even the pauses with the moderators asking the questions was so slow. I was like, they got to get with the game. We've got Gen Z here listening. They have, like a 6-second, like they're just going to wait till it all shows up on TikTok the next day in a bunch of clips anyways. Right. And then it's being manipulated into the message that candidate wants by their team. So it's not even actual either. So I don't know. I personally feel like these things are so just out of date and not serving any purpose. They just sit there calling each other names, and then the really dry questions from the moderators that don't really get to the meat of it. So I don't know. The perspective I was being shown from the angels is this doesn't do anything other than just continue to show that it's a mess, and possibly give some of these candidates parties reasons to change things. Like it may actually hurt the candidate with their own party.
Sure.
And no one really answered a question, by the way, because
they never do. They don't answer questions.
They weren't answering any questions that they were asked.
Yeah, that never happens.
Because those, by the way,
psychically. So for me, the whole thing is suspicious. Psychically, I'm just going to lay it on the table. I feel some Obama corruption behind the scenes here. I feel like we've never had a presidential debate before the convention. That was weird. Why are we having a presidential debate before the conventions where they're officially voted on? To me, there was some sort of, wheel him out there and show him what he's like. Cause it feels like there is definitely, I feel psychically, this is just psychic, that there's some sort of hit piece on him, like to swap him out. I mean, I don't know what you guys are picking up, but it feels like that that there's a plan that he will not run. I don't know if he will psychically be running. That's what I'm feeling.
That's why I was saying I feel like it may have hurt the candidate with their own parties. That's what I'm picking up on as well. It's almost like seeing ways that we can get feedback that will give us empower to shift the position with the candidates. So I know we're going to be talking about this more in a minute, so I don't want to give too much away.
Yeah, totally.
And there already have been a couple of hit pieces too. So, they've already put some, like I've already seen stuff coming across the feed. Yeah.
Yeah,
there's been hit pieces for the past 8 years for both sides. I mean, there's been slander after slander. So I think it's just a continuation of the theater. I personally believe that the political party is like two sides of the same coin.
Yeah.
I think it's all being arranged by these are just puppets to me, to be honest with you, which is why I think these two have been selected. They always want two choices, the illusion of choice, right? Between Target and Walmart, right? What's the other one? Burger King and McDonald's. There's always like the two paradigm thing, right? And they're always red and blue, by the way. Have you noticed that? It's always red and blue, even with the stores. So I think it's like you can tell where the 2%ers are really kind of, pulling the strings by the illusion of the two choice system. And so I just think it's two sides of the same coin, and they just want people to be hooked on it and be like a soap opera in the theater and the fight. And, to me, think this is all kind of theater and manipulation.
Yeah.
I find it interesting. I personally, I do believe we've had our government captured by corporate interest. I do believe BlackRock is one of those three corporate interests. There's like really three corporations that own a piece of everything. What I do find though, is that I feel like the media is underestimating just how intelligent this country is.
Right. Well,
it's like, I know we all had poor education, but we also watched a lot of movies. and you taught us about scams, and you taught us, you have taught us about how every which way corruption can go, every wrong thing that Russia could do to us. Like we see through it all at this point, and so I feel like I think Americans are just, what I feel psychically, America is all firm. Like that debate was like, okay, it's official. We are up Schitt's Creek. You know what I mean? Like, okay. We all looked at each other like, at least we have each other. So interesting moment. And I find like just the whole Bobby Kennedy thing to be outrageous because it's just like, it's so blatantly obvious. No Secret Service. And both of your uncle and your father were assassinated when they did have Secret Service. They had Secret Service and they still died on the watch. Right. So it's like, nope, sorry, you don't qualify. It's like, even though the other Kennedy went down in a plane crash, like they have bad luck being killed, these Kennedys, So I think that's blatant. Like we can't unsee the unfair treatment going on. So what if a young girl wants to grow up and be president and she doesn't want to be in either party? We're sending a message right away. Like, sorry, democracy's over.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Politics is always just watching people have a power struggle of who wants to lead. I never really feel like it's really best for the people of what's been going on in politics. Personally, I don't think it's really serving humanity. It's always a power struggle, in my opinion, and to whoever thinks they can lead the country. I never really feel like it was really designed for the people, because otherwise we wouldn't be in such a mess as a culture, as a humanity, if it really was working.
It worked I feel like our country worked. Pluto's in Aquarius right now. So I believe that, when Pluto's in Aquarius right after George Washington was president and he stepped down after 2 terms voluntarily, I think those original forefathers really did hold us together under the integrity, and we defined ourselves. And I feel like with United States Pluto return, we're back at the same place we were where Pluto was during the American Revolution. I think we have to once again fight for those basic principles. And I think that's partly why we're here as citizens. Are we going to let the idea of democracy and free will fade away, or are we going to stand up and are we going to, fight for the values that we believe in? I think that's really what we're up against here.
Yeah, I mean, that's of course our spiritual growth, and as a humanity growth, it doesn't defeat the fact there's a power struggle either, to me. You know what I mean?
Well, there's a power struggle because we're not standing in ours.
Exactly.
And so we've allowed these people to take our power because we've been picking our nose and playing video games. And
thank you.
We need to get off our astro and speak up for what you want. And I do think it's kind of happening at a local level, because I think, people are migrating to new states and they're all moving to where they agree with people. You can see the showdown starting to come up. So this begs the question. News reports today say Biden's family is pushing him to stay in the race. Lots of pundits are saying he should drop out. let's ask the question, gang. Will he drop out of the race? What do you psychically feel? Let's play the game show music. Dun, 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 dun.
We just spin a wheel, right? Chris,
those at home, play along.
What do you think?
What do I think? Well, I mean, the three of you know what my prediction is here. So,
yeah, lizard people take over the planet. We know.
No, you know my prediction on what's going to happen, but I don't know. I think that doesn't look good. Death and Tower. So this could.
Well, that's really bad. You just pulled that. Yeah, holy shit!
I literally just pulled that. So, I think that it could be a dropout. The Tower would be, seeing reality, as I always say. So, this could be like they could just say that he's old and that's the reality of the situation. He's dropping out. So, and the death card would be the transition or the transformation. Although I don't know, I'm a little nervous about that. I'll say that.
Yeah, that's a little nerve wracking. Do you have any timeline on that in your third eye?
So my timeline would be, I feel like we are going to know soon. Let's say, I don't trust psychic timing. I'll say the next 7 days. I think that they have. I think they have to do this now or never. So
take advantage of the fever of the moment.
Yeah. I was also feeling that pretty soon. I mean, maybe even like the Mars Uranus conjunction, July 15th. But they've got to take this momentum of the way this debate went and the criticism and use it for something. So I'm also getting that it won't be his voluntary choice to step down, but that he will be replaced and it will be made to look as like the right thing for the country, the right thing for the party. And ultimately he will have to go along with it for whatever reason. What about you, Scott?
I mean, you basically took the words out of my mouth too. I mean, I think it's like, my phrase, even Stevie Wonder could see it. I think it's pretty obvious. I think they're trying to push this. I was surprised they actually put him on the debate stage, to be honest with you. Yeah. I mean, I knew it was going to happen. I was just surprised, like they actually allowed that to happen. So that to me is an indication it is controlled. They're just doing it for the theater. And so, because they want people to sway the other side now. And so I've been seeing a lot of that within the media kind of swaying the other side, especially what happened with COVID. So I just think it's all manipulation. So I think they'll pull them out, give some hopes of certain candidates returning. And, I feel like Obama might be making appearances here and there. And like remember our party and we love you, Obama. So I think that might be used as a manipulation tactic to go back to the Democratic Party. So he might show his face around every now and then. I don't know. But I think they'll definitely pull Biden, slowly pull him out as they replace it with another face. And then I think there'll be like a standstill between two. Like almost like a stalemate between two is what I feel like. I get a stalemate energy.
Well, psychically, I feel the full moon in Capricorn coming up on July 21st conjuncts the United States Pluto. So I have a feeling the United States will swallow some sort of a sour pill on around July 21st. I feel like, and I do think it'll be an exposure of corruption. And what's interesting is that Pluto returns to that same spot as the full moon September 1st. So I feel like whatever damage Pluto is going to do September 1st is sort of constructed in this next 10 days. I've never felt Biden in November. I've just never felt him in November. I don't know. That's psychically been a constant. I definitely feel plotting. I also psychically feel like a power struggle between the Clintons and the Obamas. Like I do feel like the Dems aren't getting along completely, and the Republicans aren't either. Frankly, no one's getting along. But no, I definitely feel so. That begs the question. Then the next psychic round here, y'all. The next psychic question is: well, who would replace Biden in the last hour? Do you have a psychic hit? Let me give you a list of the potential contenders, and you all play at home too. We're teaching you how to, emotionally discern. We're all going to play this game together.
Yeah, feel free to put in the comments.
Which do you feel has the most chance of being that replacement ticket? Kamala Harris, Gavin Newsom, some guy named J.B. Pritzker. I don't know who that guy. I mean, I found out Gretchen Whitmer of Michigan, or Michelle Obama. Those are the ones. Kamala Harris, Gavin Newsom, J.P. Pritzker, Gretchen Whitmer, or Michelle Obama. Do you get a psychic hit on anyone?
I guess I'll put myself on the limb first. I have to say, not every decision in life is not written in the stars, and so I feel like they haven't really been deciding yet. So I can't really predict what they haven't decided at the moment. But for some reason, Gavin Newsom and Michelle Obama pop out as being the stalemate. They might use Michelle Obama as a face, then Gavin Newsom pops in. So I think they might utilize those two as leverage. I can't see a prediction on who will be the final on this because I don't think it's been settled yet. But I feel like Gavin Newsom and Obama would be kind of utilized as props, is what I feel. It's best I can say on that.
Interesting.
Yeah, I was also getting a strong lean towards Michelle Obama, if nothing else, just to convince the parties and convince the country that it's the right move to replace him as the candidate and remind people of the Obama years. That's what they're wanting to do, is get the good years back in people's memory. And so whether she ends up being the candidate or just somebody who's floated as the candidate to get people to recall that, go back to nostalgic moments and remember things differently than what they really were. So definitely a lean there. I also am with you, Scott. There's a lot of negotiating going on behind the scenes right now. Because it could also be a bait and switch thing where the person who's floated as the candidate ends up being VP candidate, that kind of thing. So I'm feeling that energy too. What about you?
Reiterate what I was saying about the stalemate before? When I was saying stalemate, I feel like they might not even choose, and it might run to where they just don't have a rep, and it's rendering that possible too, that they can't select and just they don't have a rep, and it just goes in the favor of the right. So, and I'm not
no way will they give it up.
Well, I'm just saying, I just feel like they're not going to be able to make
this one out. Y'all go ahead.
But it's not that they won't agree. It's like they won't agree. I feel like that's stalemate energy. They won't agree between the two. That's where I feel right now. Unless right now they feel like they can't agree. But I'm getting that stalemate energy. Like it's either this one or that one, and up. And again, I don't know politics by any means. I don't follow politics. I know a little bit, and I'm not a left or righty. So,
well, in the end, they always circle the wagons. Both parties.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah, psychically, I feel it's Newsom.
Mm-hmm.
I feel it's Newsom. In fact, I'll be so bold. I mean, I feel like this will ruin his political career, and that he deserves that. No, I'm kidding. But like, I feel Newsom, and I feel very strong warnings that it's a mistake for him. So if I was to guide him, I would say,
don't do it.
I don't think you should do it, buddy. I do feel Michelle Obama like maybe swimming around for the new Kamala vice president kind of feel. I could see her tagging out as VP. I get the feeling that she wants to boss in the background, not really be the official boss. Poor Obama. Barack is always getting boss. Like, who really ran the country the last time? It was Michelle. You know what I mean? Like, possibly. What about you, Reck?
Yeah, Newsom had the best card here, Ace of Cups. The others had like 7 of Pentacles, 2 of Pentacles, King of Pentacles for Michelle Obama, and 5 of Pentacles. So, I agree with everybody here. I think that Newsom has probably the best chance right now with the Ace of Cups.
He's not very. Californians don't like him, so he's not going to get much of California. I'll say that.
I bet he will anyways, by nature of what he can do.
Yes.
Not much.
Yeah, it'd be very interesting.
Anymore.
So, we have gone through our time here. We're not going to be able to shoot the shift like we wanted to, but we do have one psychic roulette just to keep it fair among Democrat and Republican equal time here. The final question is another one. Who is Trump's vice president pick going to be, in your opinion, your psychic opinion? Here are the options: J.D. Vance, Marco Rubio, Tim Scott, Ben Carlson, Ron DeSantis, Tabby Gifford.
I always said, and I know that Devon's going to agree too with me, is my always lean toward DeSantis having some part of the Trump campaign, whether VP or not. He's going to be some part of the Trump administration. Is DeSantis? Yeah,
I stick by my original feeling there. Rubio is also a close one, but I think I've always felt like a lot of this argument between DeSantis and Trump was a lot for show, and they'll figure it out in the end if it's going to benefit the party.
None of these cards are good. So except for this one, this was DeSantis. The rest of them suck. So yeah, I mean, I would say, and I just threw it across the room. So never mind. Maybe DeSantis won't be the VP.
Was that the 3 of Pentacles?
That was a 3 of Pentacles. Yeah.
So he must be working secretly behind it this whole time too.
Yeah, he could be. Yeah.
Because I felt that a while. He's like secretly working with the Trump campaign. So I feel that. So that's a good card to pull on it too.
I was feeling that too, Scott.
For sure.
I feel he has always been secretly working with the Trump campaign. I feel like Trump is not enemies with anybody. I feel like everyone pretends that for the most part, and then they're nice to him behind the cameras, and just pretend that they, But I personally feel, I'll just say, I feel Tabby, because it's a woman. And I just kind of feel like I've always kind of felt like he would partner with a woman next. I mean, Mike Pence was a woman in a man's body, but this would be actually one who uses the right pronouns, basically. But I think that's what I just feel psychically. We'll see. That's where my money's going today.
Yeah.
All righty. Well, it's been another wonderful show, friends. That wraps up our show. We are so thankful for everyone coming and being a part of it. We are on every Monday night, and the final Monday of the month is always going to be a pre-taped interview, by the way. So we have a night off every month. And as we are leaving for the night, remember, folks, don't put up with a shift show. Lead out loud. We'll see you next week.
Good night, guys.
Bye, everybody.